Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers, the astrology and numerology. And in this case, I'm really excited to share with you that we've come to another pivotal moment with Uranus. Uranus and the Sun are going to be conjunct in Taurus for the final time until Uranus moves back into Taurus, which will be next century, April 2102. So that would be the 22nd century. And this is major because it's happening actually on May 17th in the Americas. It's like 7:14 p.m. Eastern, and that would be May 18th elsewhere in the world. But it is impacting us throughout May. And if you're born around this time between May, 11th and 20th, 21st, and you're a Taurus, then you have Uranus conjunct your Sun for your solar return for the year. So anyway, this is incredible because Uranus is weeks away from leaving Taurus and again, not entering again until the next century. It takes Uranus around 84 years to move around the zodiac. So in early July, Uranus leaves Taurus and moves into Gemini. And this is the last time the Sun and Uranus will be together until, like I said, in the 22nd century. And this is important because Uranus rules the Aquarian age. Uranus is the planetary ruler of the sign of Aquarius. And it is the planet of freedom, breakthroughs, the future. It governs discoveries and inventions and exploring uncharted territories. And like Aquarius, the sign it rules, Uranus stimulates exploration. It's the adventurous planet. Uranus enjoys going out of bounds, covering new ground, focusing on the future, leaving behind old paradigms. And that's why Uranus is the planet of liberation. It breaks through those hurdles, barriers, habits that need to be changed, that need to be shifted in order to move forward. It does govern the future. So Uranus is often filled with brilliant ideas that then result in rapid forward momentum. Aquarius, the sign Uranus rules, is an air sign, and air signs do move quicker than, for example, earth signs or water signs. Now, Saturn just moved into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and that gives Saturn forward momentum that it didn't really have in Pisces, because Aries is a fire sign, and the fire and air signs do move quickly, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it does govern forward momentum. Now, Saturn is not a forward momentum planet. Saturn is a look to the past planet, right? So as Uranus makes this major shift, and Saturn just is also making a major shift on the 24th of May, Saturn moves into Aries. This will create some major critical abilities for us to walk through open doors, to be open-minded. After all, Uranus rules the higher mind, intuition. And Uranus is now, after this conjunction with the Sun on May 17th, 18th, it is going to move into the final degrees of Taurus. So the conjunction takes place at 27 degrees, and then Uranus is going to move into 28 and 29 degrees. And those are called critical degrees in astrology. They're the final 2 degrees of any sign, and they enhance the energy. They make it more intense. So a lot of things that you took for granted, especially how you think about things and how you emotionally respond to how you think about things, they will be up in the air. So what you've been taking for granted will be up in the air. It's shake-up energy. What you've depended on for so long is no longer a given. You see, in Taurus, we deal with security. Uranus is still in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus governs food and practical matters and financial flow, money, security. it's a very grounded sign. So as Uranus moves into the final 2 degrees of Taurus, there's going to be a sense of what can I rely on? You're going to have a new influx of ideas, not so much relying on the old paradigms, the ones that you've been taught or that you took on through education or mentors. A lot of things will go out the window. I'm not saying everything, but those things that are not actually part of liberation energy will need to be looked at. Uranus finds inventive new solutions and breaks from the past. And remember, Saturn, the planet of the past, is about to move on May 24th into Aries, joining Neptune there. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. There's so much change going on this year, as you know. All the 5 outer planets are changing signs, and we don't even have a historical context of when that last happened. So we are already in the midst of this inexplicable energy that is saying, well, the big picture seeks outcomes that are for everyone's highest good. And this energy is just becoming much more intense now. So as I said, Uranus rules the higher mind, and it's filled with innovative ideas. It's very eccentric energy. You'll be drawn more to eccentric views of how the world works in all areas of life. You will be drawn to people who are brilliant or ideas that are brilliant. And these are ideas that might have been buried under a centralized way of seeing the world as we become more and more decentralized, meaning we become free of the status quo that has imposed certain approaches and ideas of how to look at the world and look at your life. And these are all going to start to be questioned. And that's what Uranus does so well. It questions things. So as the Sun and Uranus come together, you're going to be asking, because the Sun represents our energy, our light, right? What are we without light? You will be asking things, well, how might I be fighting the natural flow? And how might I be keeping myself from moving through openings that have presented themselves, new discoveries that are coming to me from different angles? This attitude of openness will change your life now, because you already feel the quickening. You already have in your cells this remembrance that there is a new path that's being forged on Earth now. And everything will start to feel more destined. It won't feel so random. And you will acknowledge the serendipity, the synchronized way that the universe works. It is not chaotic. It is truly organized in the most brilliant way. And you can realize then, okay, if I'm going through a challenging situation, whether it is through making a shift and changing a certain belief or understanding that I may have carried around that has weighed me down, you start realizing that you don't have to linger in that energy. You can literally liberate yourself from the suffering that approach has brought to you up until this moment. And that breakthrough insight is going to release you from a lot of pain. And this pain is self-imposed in many ways, even though you may be ignorant of it. We all are, right? But we're waking up to it, and that's the good news. You know, you can't be in an inspired way of seeing the world if you're constantly turning back for reference and regurgitating past ways, past experiences as your go-to guide for this moment, this present moment. Life just doesn't work that way because it's constantly evolving, and we are evolving at such a rapid pace now that everything that you see will be recognized as divine or not. So everything shows you how you are expressing that light, that inner light, or suppressing that inner light. And whether it's within you, you recognize that very quality in others as well. So that means that if you have a challenging situation in your life, you start realizing, oh my God, it's all this is pointing me in the direction I need to start searching and being curious about and asking questions about. So a challenge is here to serve you. You're moving out of suffering and into living. And this is the definition of moving out of the Piscean age, which we've been in for over 2,000 years now, and into the Aquarian age. The Piscean age, the shadow side of Pisces is to be a victim, to willingly suffer, to be in a cloud willingly, right? Or even to be ignorant, and ignorance is bliss. And then when something comes up to shake you, you'd rather live in that nebulous world, that idealized world. So now, with Uranus shaking things up and all the planets changing signs and the Aquarian age being stimulated by Pluto's entry into Aquarius for 20 years a few months ago, we're being shown that, hey, we do have a sword that we can use to cut through the crap. And understand that the Piscean age was truly about a spiritual awakening that needed to happen within us, and now is going to break through and change everything. So it's very, very exciting. And the Sun conjunct Uranus adds tremendous excitement. It adds this energy, this internal light energy that in Taurus brings not only calmness and peace, but allows you to break away from limiting situations, limiting relationships, limiting plans, and open your heart to thrilling opportunities and insights. This is extremely powerful shift energy, since Uranus represents anything that's connected to electricity, so what feels electric, unpredictable energy, freedom energy, volatile energy. So it's important to understand that this sense of balance in life requires the occasional shakeup, right? To loosen up whatever dust and cobwebs have grown. So be sure to take time to ground and get out in nature, put your feet on the grass, the ground, be out in the sun, be out at sunrise, at sunset. Understand that your life is connected to the sun. Enjoy the process, the internal awakening process. Now, for a deep dive into Aquarius, I have a wonderful free new masterclass, Pluto in Aquarius, Astrology Shift for the Ages, and you can watch it for free at shiftfortheages.com, and it'll go into much more detail about the historical context of what we're experiencing right now for the next 20 years. In fact, we cover the 11 previous Pluto and Aquarius periods in history, which give us an unmatched perspective because we get powerful guidance for the current 20-year cycle that we're in now. And we look at the most recent period between 1777 and 1778, which was so pivotal, and the likely outcomes it shows for 2024 through 2044. Now remember that this period now coincides with the move into a new 2000 plus age, the age of Aquarius. So we're in a more potent Pluto and Aquarius moment now than we ever have been, well, in over 26,000 years, because that's the last time that there was an Aquarian age. That's how the cycles move, right? They're based on the lunar nodes, and they take that long to evolve. Each cycle is 2,160 years long. So we are literally now moving into the shift of the ages, especially since Aquarius represents the future. So enjoy that free masterclass. Go to shiftfortheages.com. Have a beautiful week, a happy Sun conjunct Uranus week, and I will see you in next week's Star Codes podcast. Lots of love.